Welcome to that 80s show. Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change. Dori, do you recognize the 80s show that theme song comes from?
I'm sure we've done this one before.
Well, it doesn't matter, Dori, because we have done it before. But how much attention were you paying?
Strangers.
Oh, perfect.
Is it Perfect Strangers?
Perfect answer, Dori. I don't know what it is. I've been in such a perfect stranger mood this week.
Okay.
I have. And what is it? I don't know why I have a perfect strangers feel. I just got to find it, got to watch it. Balki Bartokomus, Cousin Larry, Aplaton.
Have you been doing the Dance of Joy?
Maybe that's it. Maybe I've just been ridiculous. What country? What island he was from? He's from Mypos. Hey,
I don't know.
That's where Balki Bartokomus was from. Cousin from Mypos. He was a shepherd or sheep herder.
Sheep herder, sheep farmer.
Yeah,
something with sheep.
I think what got me thinking about it. Oh, you know what it was? I saw a clip of Bronson Pinchot from Beverly Hills Cop. He plays that character Serge. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh no! So he pops up in Beverly Hills Cop. I think in both 1 and 2, and he plays a really over the top character called Serge, who runs a art gallery, works in an art gallery, and now Axel Foley.
Okay, yes, it's coming back to me. It's coming back to
me. When,
but now isn't Serge Italian?
He's also ambiguously European.
Mediterranean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of Mediterranean descent.
Yes. He's ambiguously there. And because Axel Foley says to him, "Get the fuck out of here." He's like, "No, I will not. I will not."
I need to watch Beverly Hills Cop again. Do you know that I have not watched it since the 80s?
You get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
Literally.
That is insane. You know they're rebooting it.
Oh no.
So it's coming to Netflix. They've been shooting. It's coming out pretty soon. And yeah, I mean, listen, Eddie Murphy's kept himself in good shape, but he's not in like 80s Eddie Murphy shape. Like,
so it's still Eddie Murphy at least.
Yeah, it's still Eddie Murphy. Okay. Listen, I get very bad Coming to America reboot. Oh my God, that was so bad. Did you watch it?
Yes, dude. We spoke about it on the show. It was horrible.
No, it wasn't really good. The only funny part of it actually was when they went back to the 80s and they kind of like tell the scene where the prince was conceived. That was funny. But otherwise, what a mess.
Yeah, it was weak. It was, you know, I don't know. Like if they made Coming to America now, would it even still be funny? Because it would just be like cancelled. Sorry, nope, no, can't do it.
Well, that's the thing, because I mean they obviously try to make it like for now and whatever it stank. But
exactly, I mean, yeah. Because I was reading some article that an interview with Mindy Kaling, and she said they could never make The Office now, never.
I know. I read that the other day. I was like, but The Office was like 10 years ago.
That's how fast the cancel culture has moved. You can't do something yesterday. You can't do something today that you could do yesterday.
So Dori, it's quite funny.
Wow. Yes.
It's quite funny because it's almost as if we like are going to segue perfectly into our first story. Where we've not, I doubt you've even read the first story because I certainly haven't. I just put it here about the Fatal Attraction reboot. Right.
Oh Lord, I have not heard of that. Okay. What? Okay.
So in the 80s, late 80s, especially around 86, 87, 88, a lot of saucy movies came out. There was Fatal Attraction, 9.5 Weeks was around there. It was just kind of like a lot of those kind of femme fatale, violent sex movies came, right? And then they started popping up in South Africa on like early 90s on Mnet, right? So that was just happening. And one of them was obviously Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. Am I right? Yes, it was Michael Douglas. The bunny boiler. That's the bunny.
The bunny boiler, that's where the expression comes from. People still use the expression, but I bet you most of them don't even know where the expression comes from.
I know. So they are
Very
now...
traumatic scene, hey?
It was, though. It was. Made me not eat rabbit for about 2 weeks. So, delicacy.
Oh, dude, no.
Rabbit is a delicacy for Portuguese. I don't eat it. I've tried it. It's gross. But
I've tried it because I am adventurous, but I just like there's certain things that like no matter what, there's no ways I'm going to eat them just psychologically.
Yeah.
There's no ways.
Yeah.
I can't eat duck either.
Yeah. Because I just imagine, because ducks poop, and I imagine like how much that duck must have pooped before it's served to you.
Everything poops.
But
everything poops.
Ducks poop
Rabbits
a lot.
Poop.
Ducks poop on themselves. Like I've seen ducks with poop on their feet. Ducks poop on themselves.
What are they supposed to wipe with?
Oh yeah, right. So then where does why then, if ducks are so gross, is there toilet duck? I've always wondered that.
Can we get back to the movie?
Ducks are gross.
With this conversation.
So anyway, they rebooted Fatal Attraction as a TV show, right, on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
And Lizzie Kaplan, she's kind of one of those people when you see her, you know who she is, but you couldn't name her. She's like,
I love her.
Okay, cool.
I love her.
Right,
really
she is very cool. So she noted how the upcoming project will also be honoring one of the original conclusions to the journey that star Glenn Close preferred, allowing the series to embrace the source material in those ways. And stay tuned for details. So she says, the original movie is great, it's scary, but I'm asked you make big questions. And there were two different endings, the one that Glenn Close preferred, and then the other one, which was the 80s male-centric version, right? So Glenn Close wanted to protect her character, to kind of paint that this woman was in a very fragile state, because that's kind of one of the holdovers of Fatal Attraction. She wasn't a well woman, and it was never addressed. It was just, she's nuts. Like, she's crazy. Like, don't even try to help her. Okay, she's just nuts.
Yeah.
And that was the narrative that was... So people have gone, but that's uncomfortable because she very clearly wasn't well and she needed help, right? Which kind of like if you...
And you shouldn't judge people with mental health problems now. You just don't.
Exactly. So that was when you're saying, would Coming to America get cancelled? I mean, Fatal Attraction wouldn't make it past because they go, well, this woman's got mental health issues. I mean, you can't play it for laughs or you can't play it for thrills, you know?
And I'm sure there even won't be a bunny boiling scene, I'm sure. Even with the no animals were harmed during the production disclaimer.
No, so how do you then take a movie that was built around somebody who's mentally unstable, reboot it, and she's not mentally unstable? I don't, or now you address that? Is that going to be, because now it's obviously coming from going to be, it doesn't say if it's the same characters, the way they're talking about it, it probably is. So are they going to retell the story but from her side? Maybe that's what they're doing. That'd be interesting.
I mean, I'll watch it for Lizzie because I love her. You know, I've spoken about the series Inside Job on the show before. It's that animated series on Netflix.
Yes.
She voices the main character.
Yeah.
Also such a great show, by the way. The season 2 is there now. Just such a great show. I spoke about the 80s episode where they went to that town that was stuck in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So I will watch it for her. Literally, I will give it a chance. I'll give it a chance for her. And then we'll see. What is the thing? Like, what is the whole deal?
So playing the Michael Douglas character is going to be Joshua Jackson. Isn't that Pacey from Dawson's Creek?
As far as I know.
The first trailer from Moon Knight is here, and we know who Ethan Hawke is playing.
Who?
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Who's Ethan Hawke playing?
I clicked on the link of the Fatal Attraction article, and something started playing. Okay, I'm going to just close that now.
No, I think it was me.
I hate it when that happens.
We're on comicbook.com and we're looking at the
yes.
We're looking at
something started playing.
And I just wanted to see if I was right about Joshua Jackson. But now I'm interested to know who Ethan Hawke was playing. That's interesting. On Ethan Hawke, right? So Guardians of the Galaxy, there is a Christmas special on Disney Plus with Drax and why can't I remember her name now? The character who looks like a little bug, her, okay? And now they want to give Star-Lord his perfect Christmas. And so in the story, Star-Lord, Christopher Pratt's character, basically gets kidnapped from Earth, like late 70s, early 80s. So all his references are actually in the 80s. So all his references are 80s. He's been the space wanderer, but he only knows 80s stuff. So they always have these little 80s tropes in there. A few weeks ago, I started playing the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, like super 80s, because you spend the first little part as him as a kid in the 80s. So there's like a lot of little 80s Easter eggs. So here's now Christmas got ruined, and they want to give him the perfect Christmas. And his favorite movie is Footloose. So they come to Earth to kidnap Kevin Bacon to take him, give him as a gift, right? So they arrive on Earth, find Kevin Bacon and take him up. And Mantis, right? She's got powers of suggestion, so she can hypnotize you basically. And she hypnotizes Kevin Bacon to not be afraid and totally buy into the whole thing. And they give him as a gift. He is so much fun. Like, he's outrageous.
Is it really him?
No, it's really him. It's really him.
Okay.
And he's trying to explain to them what a movie is, that he wasn't really in this town, and there wasn't really a mayor. And so that's worth a watch.
I've never watched Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, right.
So I have no idea what you were talking about until you said the words Kevin Bacon. No clue. But I love the idea, so now I'm going to watch it.
No, it's really fun. Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel, and there's a character, Star-Lord, played by Christopher Pratt, and he's half human, half god, half a god, and he gets brought up from Earth. He gets abducted, but he gets taken in the 80s. So he's got a cassette tape, a little Walkman with a whole bunch of like late 70s, early 80s rock songs. And like I say, all his references, like throughout all the movies, he makes these crazy 80s references. And in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he actually kind of saves the day by fight dancing. So that's all, of course, tied into
as one does.
But Kevin Bacon is great fun in that. So give that a watch if you can. At this Christmas time.
You've got to hand it to Kevin Bacon. He has made fun of himself his entire career.
Yeah. What do you think of the story that goes around that when he goes to a wedding, he pays the band and the DJ not to play Footloose?
I totally believe it.
It keeps popping up. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd run a kitty knowing that, and Kevin Bacon's coming to the wedding. I would run a collection to pay double for the band to play Footloose.
But then he'll just walk out the room, maybe. I mean, what'll happen?
But plus side, you're now 1 degree of Kevin Bacon, because now you've been at the same wedding as Kevin Bacon, and he's upset.
Do you know that I'm 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Ooh, how did you get 2? Because we had 3. How did you get 2?
No, I'm sure I'm 2. I need to recheck it. But I've met a fair amount of relatively famous people in my time in the media, and I think I worked out that I'm 2 degrees.
Didn't Barrett say
who I've met?
Didn't Barrett say that we could be 2 degrees now because of somebody we interviewed as well recently?
I don't know. I don't count. I count meeting in real life, like literally in the flesh. And I mean, we have met a fair amount of people.
Well,
so
if
I need to check it, I will investigate.
If you're 2, I'm 3 then.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else.
Nothing else.
So
Chesney
it's
Hawks.
that we would have met the same person.
By the way, Chesney Hawks is he floated around last week, performed at halftime of the England game. They bring him out again to perform tonight at the World Cup semi-final. He's going to be performing at halftime. He's being paid by a Saudi or Qatari prince who said something very weird, like, I would love him to come join me and ride my camel. I'm telling you, I've got to find this quote. Those quotes.
I have not been following the World Cup. Who is in the semi-finals?
We're not at the semi-finals yet.
Oh, who's in the quarterfinals?
So,
I literally have not been following it.
So Portugal is in the quarterfinals, and don't worry about anyone else. That's what you need to worry about.
Is that what matters?
That's what matters. Okay. Yeah.
Is England still in?
England's still in, and we do the show on a Friday, and they're playing tonight. And we'll see what happens with them. They're playing France, so it's going to be tough. Yes,
I mean, I personally don't care, but we have a mutual friend who is very, very much for England winning.
Yes.
So I just want to
Shame.
I'll keep an eye then.
I will think about him tomorrow morning because he's going to be in his feels. We'll be very sad. So here's the...
Are they going to get beaten?
Okay. They're going to get beaten, right? Here's the Chesney Hawks update. Lucky mascot Chesney Hawks aims to give World Cup rivals France the hump by belting out the one and only on a camel. That's the story. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that England are going to win. He will be performing at halftime on the back of a camel. Unfortunately, that will not be broadcast, but that is worth paying for.
There better be photos on like social media of that. Come on.
We got to
Come on.
Barrett's his WhatsApp friend. He will...
Yes.
Yes.
We should ask Barrett to WhatsApp him and tell him to do like a little,
do something for
video
us.
for us.
Yeah. Here's Chesney Hawks. There's a photo of him on a camel with his guitar. This is high quality content. This is going up on our Facebook page. Daddy Show SA. All right, let's get into our movie recommendations of the week.
So, Paulo, this week, I'm planning to do this horror of my childhood thing, but that is going to be postponed by a week because we have lost someone very important from the 80s, and I felt like it needed to be reflected in the show.
Good on you.
Kirstie Alley died this week.
Good on you, Dori. That's some good pivoting.
Yeah.
Pivoting, they call it in the biz.
Exactly. So now, Kirstie Alley died this week, and while she, in her later years, became somewhat of a problem, I loved her in the 80s.
We all did.
That is how I shall remember her.
We all did. Why did she become a problem in the 80s? What did she do? I mean, latterly.
Dude, did you not see? Because when I heard that she died, of course, the first thing you do is go onto Twitter. Well, first thing I do is go onto Twitter when I hear someone famous has died, and wow, so much hate because she was a humongous Trump supporter, humongous, and she was like a little bit cuckoo in her later years about the American political thing. Like, people called her racist, and I don't know if she was. She was also, remember, a Scientologist. Remember,
Okay.
So anyway, there was very mixed responses on the social media to her death. Let's put it that way. And I'm like, I don't care. I freaking loved her. I have already spoken about Summer School, which is one of her greatest films from the 80s. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to definitely do a Kirstie Alley movie this week. And I was like, I could do, there's a bunch that I've seen. And I've spoken about North and South, where I first discovered her, which was that TV series. And then I was like, what else did she do in the 80s? And I went online and I was like, okay, yeah. And then, of course, everybody knows her from Cheers as well. She was in Cheers. And then I found a movie that I was like, I don't know what this is. And I went into the rabbit hole, and that is very apt that I say that, because this movie is called A Bunny's Tale.
Okay.
Yes. So you immediately think, it's a children's movie. It is not a children's movie, but it is a very interesting movie. The entire movie is on YouTube with very bad sound. I watched it. It's fascinating because it's actually based on a true story.
I've just seen the poster. I know what bunny it's about. All right. Okay.
Exactly. It's based on a true story. Now, I had vaguely heard this. I mean, I'm not like really into like feminism and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't know if you know who Gloria Steinem is.
I know the name, yeah.
She's a very famous, she's like a famous journalist. She basically is like one of the figureheads of the feminist movement. And what's fascinating about this is that one of the things that got her on that path was the story that is told in this movie, where as a journalist, she was told to go undercover as a Playboy bunny at the Playboy Club. Okay. And it was supposed to be for a fun story. She was writing for some entertainment newspaper or magazine. I can't remember what it was. It was 1963. And she was a struggling journalist. She already had like those like embers of feminism kind of burning in her. But the editor was like, go undercover as a bunny and write us a funny, this will be funny, write us a funny story. So she's like, okay, fine, because she needs the work. And in the process of doing this, she ends up writing a very serious, quite feminist article about how women were treated as Playboy bunnies at the Playboy Club. I think it was New York. And it was a very interesting movie, I have to say. Like, not brilliant by any means, but first of all, she looked gorgeous. I mean, and there's lots of let's say, sexy girls in sexy bunny outfits, if you know what I mean. It also stars, and see if you know, if I say the name, tell me where they're from. It also stars Joanna Kearns. Do we know who Joanna Kearns is?
Let me see if I can see a picture of her, maybe. I've seen her. If
you see her, you'll know exactly who she is.
I know.
So she was the mom in Growing Pains.
Yes, that's it. Okay.
Yes. So Joanna Kearns is in the movie, as well as Delta Burke. I'm sure you don't need a picture of Delta Burke.
She's from Designing Woman, yes. She of Designing Woman.
Correct. Yes. And then a bunch of other people. Anyway, unimportant. So basically it's her story of being a bunny. And the thing about it was she wrote this really amazing, I've actually got the article, I've started reading it, it's very long, so I haven't finished, but she writes very well. She writes this very amazing article about exposing, like, you know, what goes on and how these girls are treated, and they all have, you know, like their personal struggles and their own reasons for why they were doing this job as well. Like, people will maybe just assume, oh, you're just like this, you know, dumb ditzy woman and you're like one step away from a stripper. But no, I mean, a lot of them had like really, you know, hard lives, and they were doing it for a reason. And the problem was that after this article came out, she basically wasn't taken seriously as a journalist for many, many years, because they were like, oh, you were a bunny. What do you know? Kind of.
Right. Okay.
So she had to really fight. And that's probably why she did become the feminist figurehead that she did become in the long run. So, yeah, I mean, good film. Like I say, on YouTube.
Yeah.
And just something that I hadn't seen Kirstie Alley in, from 1985, by the way. So it was cool. But like the other movie that I was going to do, and I probably might do at some point in the future, do you remember there's a movie called The Prince of Bel-Air? Not The Fresh Prince, just The Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes.
That was the movie I actually wanted to do, but I need to watch it again.
Okay.
Where it's her and Mark Harmon.
Yes.
And that's a great film as well.
Gee, wow, Dori.
So yeah, just remembering Kirstie Alley. I loved you, Kirstie, until you became crazy, but it's okay. You know.
Hey, it happens. It happens to everyone. She's just looking at the movie poster of Prince of Bel-Air, and I do remember. So I'm going to look forward to that one. Of course, Kirstie Alley also having been in Look Who's Talking, Cheers. She did that show Kirstie, I think, where she kind of played a version of herself, something like that. And of course, she had a Kirstie,
I remember that.
Yeah, it was early. What was the decade just before the 2020s?
Oh, yes. Yes, where she was. No, wasn't that fat actress though?
No, there was.
A fat actress?
No, they're different. So they were both terrible.
Okay,
they were both terrible. But I think in Kirstie, did she play a version of herself? Yes, she played kind of like semi-autobiographical in both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disclaimer, I really only love her in the 80s. Like, basically from Look Who's Talking onwards, Like, I didn't like Veronica's Closet. Like, basically from there on it was like, although I think Cheers went into the 90s. So Cheers, she was good. She was really
you
good.
liked her in the first Look Who's Talking?
I mean, it was okay.
Because that was the 80s.
First one. It was okay.
That was the 80s.
Yeah, it was okay, the first one. Okay. Then it was like, okay, too much. But do you remember? I don't know if you remember Cheers with Kirstie Alley.
Yeah.
And there was a scene, and it actually popped up on the day that she died. People were her fans were posting certain things on social media, and someone posted a clip from Cheers where she hides a cigarette in her mouth. I don't know if you've seen that clip.
No.
Okay, so she has a bet with Sam Malone, played by Ted Danson. She has a bet that he wants to sleep with her. Of course, if you remember the storyline, all he wants to do is sleep with her, and she's like trying to just fob him off half the time. And then she's a smoker, and he's like, I tell you what, if you quit smoking, I'll leave you alone. But if you can't quit smoking, then you sleep with me. So they took this bet. And of course, she couldn't quit smoking.
Oh,
so
boy,
he walks
the
into
80s.
The office. She's got a cigarette.
By the way, Dori,
obviously.
boy, the 80s. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Exactly. Talking about being cancelled and all the things that are unacceptable these
Jeez.
days. This was what was happened on the show. And she's smoking in the office, and he walks in, and she, in a very, very like a split second, she literally flips the cigarette inside her mouth.
Yes, okay.
And then he's like, "Oh, I thought you were smoking," and she just like smiles and shakes her head, and then he walks out, and she flips the cigarette out. And you're like, wow, is that like, how did they do that? And then I actually read a thing where she said, no, it was a trick that she was taught when she was like 8 years old. Her dad taught her how to do it. I'm like, oh my God, like how, I'm sorry, like how hick of this was this family that he was teaching her how to smoke at 8 years old. But anyway, okay, we'll let that go. But
It was a different
But
time.
that's
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
this would have been like what, like 60s, that she could have been 8, right?
I mean, even 50s possibly, because she was 71.
Yeah.
So she was born in 1951.
Yeah.
So it was
50,
literally 1960.
Yeah. So
not.
yeah. So it was different times. It's just
I will find that clip. And put it on our Facebook page because it's funny. It's really funny.
So the plus side of this is, not only do I know that there's a movie about Playboy bunnies, which is probably like, if you're gonna go ogle anyone in this movie, you're missing the point of this movie, because you kind of like take the message.
Totally.
But it has reminded me of a movie I've been wanting to rewatch for ages, and I never did. And I am watching that and reporting back next week. So thank you for that, Dori. It is also Kirstie Alley.
Okay.
Kirstie Alley inspired.
Also.
I've had this. Yes, so watch this space. So that's Dori's movie, A Bunny's Tale. Not a Watership Down. Not Watership Down. Watership Down, the saddest movie. I mean, do you remember watching Watership Down as a kid? I do think it came out in the 80s. Do you remember the animated movie of it? Because Watership Down.
I actually don't think I watched it as a kid, but I did watch it when I was older. Though I knew, I was like, let me do it anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Boy, do I regret that decision.
If you watched Watership Down as a kid, you know you watched Watership Down as a kid. I mean, because there was Glenn Close would have been, oh boy, that's a lot of dead bunnies. Hold my beer.
There's a definite theme to today's show.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So my movie this week, on kind of reflection, you're going to say, you've done this movie before. I was like, no, I've done.
Okay.
There were a lot of movies like this, starring the same people and very similar-ish. But I haven't done this particular one, even though they could live in the same universe. It's kind of the time of year where we're going to start spending time with people we like, but possibly also people we don't like. You know, family gatherings, there's going to be a person there that you go, ooh. And even worse, some people may be going down on holiday and sharing, you know, a holiday home with a couple of people, and there's a reason you don't see each other for the rest of the year, right? Like, we all got somebody. Everyone's got somebody like that. We're like, oh God, let's just make sure we do different things. We're not going to fight. We're not going to clash. We just would prefer to just not be around each other. So my movie plays on that premise. And it stars John Candy, who every year goes up to his lake house with his family, and he loves it. He goes hunting, outdoorsman. His 2 sons are teenagers. They're going to go do teenage things in the lake town, and him and his wife are going to have some naughty time in between his hunting. And suddenly his douchebag brother-in-law shows up. His wife's sister's husband, played by Dan Aykroyd. Okay, shows up with his family, his wife, Annette Bening. The 2 wives in this are sisters. So it's Dan Aykroyd and John Candy now are 2 brother-in-laws, very opposite, because John Candy's quite a down-to-earth dude, loves the outdoors, whereas Dan Aykroyd is a Wall Street douchebag, drives a Mercedes-Benz and walks around with the state of the 80s cell phone, right? He's just that guy. The movie's The Great Outdoors. Okay.
I think it's been mentioned on the show in another context.
It would have
but
been.
not done as a movie.
It would have been because it's a John Hughes movie. He didn't direct it. He wrote it and produced it.
That was it.
Yes.
That was it.
And it's linked to She's Having a Baby. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
That was exactly the discussion.
Yes, because one of the sons in this movie is in. So one of the sons, his name's Buck. He shows up in She's Having a Baby. I don't know who he plays in She's Having a Baby, but he shows up in that. So but as the same character, there's also a speculation, but the timing doesn't work, that this Buck is actually Uncle Buck in another universe. They're trying to do some weird shit there. Probably not even the thing, right?
Right.
Okay, so The Great Outdoors, it's a great movie for this time of year because we can all relate to it. We've all got, even if it's not you and another person, we've all got people in our family that we just go, oh, we've got to keep them separate. We've got to keep them away from each other, you know? And you kind of like, a lot of your mental effort and your mental energy is spent keeping them on opposite sides of the fence. So you can relate with that. And by and large, they try to play ball. The best part about these movies and why I think they're so memorable is because obviously they start a lot of Saturday Night Live alum. So the movies were just a lot of set plays of little skits. It's a lot of little skits, ends in a joke, and they actually never go back to it. It just kind of gets resolved in a series of skits. There's one where John Candy's character tries to eat a 3-kilogram steak. There's another one with a water ski. But it all resolves itself in, there's a story that John Candy tells around the campfire of how when he was younger, he got attacked by a bear in the woods. And he fired a shot to scare the bear, but the bullet scalped the bear and basically took off all the hair on his head. So there's the legend of the bald bear in the forest. The bear wasn't hurt, just got no hair on the top of his head, right? It's a she. Right. Just got no hair. The bear's name is Jody, and we find out later. Okay. So the whole movie resolves itself.
I definitely haven't watched this movie, by the way. I definitely haven't watched it.
So the whole movie resolves itself in... this is all spoiler alerts because we just assume people have watched these films. So
it's fine.
Dan Aykroyd's two kids, they red-haired twin girls that John Candy's petrified of because he's convinced that they're poltergeist and they're possessed and the heads are going to turn around. They go missing. And now it's this whole set piece to now rescue them. During this, the bear now finds John Candy and he's like, I'm going to get you. You scalped me. You took a shot at me years ago. I'm coming for revenge, and attacks him. And there's a whole funny fight scene in the end with the bear. But now to scare the bear off again, they fire a shot, and the shot now grazes the bear's backside. Okay, and the bear runs away.
Oh, God.
So now happy families, everyone resolves the whole story. Dan Aykroyd was there trying to get money out of John Candy. He had made bad investments, whole thing, right? And it's often thought that Marvel invented the post-credit scene, but it was actually John Hughes had post-credits and mid-credits in all his films. That was like one of his things. And in this movie is a post-credit scene with a group of raccoons that we keep seeing in the movie. This is not kid me loving this. I just know it's animals, talking animals, this is so funny. And this end scene, I probably, when I saw this as a kid, needed to lie down for about 4 days because I cannot understand how something can be that funny. It's like, it's unreal. So the raccoons are now talking to each other, okay, in their raccoon language. And they're like, yeah, those guys are gone. Geez, they caused some chaos, whatever. Have you heard what happened to Jody? So Jody's now the bear. So yeah, Jody's been sitting in the lake for 2 days. I just got to tell you, Jody's now bald on both ends. Done. I could not deal with it as a kid.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine how funny that is to me as a kid, talking raccoons and bald-ass bears?
You must have loved it.
I still love it.
Did you watch it as a kid, though?
I did watch it as a kid.
Okay.
I did. So,
I've never seen it. It's probably not my kind of movie, to be honest.
Oh, were you kidding?
I love the, Dan and John and,
Dori.
I don't know.
You like Dan Aykroyd. You like John Candy.
I do.
You love John Hughes movies. It's just fun. It's nonsensical. You don't have to follow the movie because, like I said, it's just a bunch of skits. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
I'll tell you what.
Yes.
So this movie, you can rent it. It's on a couple of streaming services. There are a ton of clips on YouTube. Maybe watch some of the funny clips, and then you'll go, oh, that's actually, I want to watch the whole movie. Or you go, I'm done. That's cool. They are funny. They are funny because you're now talking Dan Aykroyd and John Candy in their 80s prime, right?
Sorry, you disappeared there. Sorry, I literally didn't hear you.
Okay,
Put you back.
I'm just going to go straight from this. Okay, so that's our movies. A Bunny's Tale, The Great Outdoors, which has raccoons and bears, so all animal related. Going back to our ducks.
So such an animal friendly, friendly and unfriendly show this week.
Indeed, because all the animals end in a bad way. We killed bunnies and Watership Down. It's a mess.
It's got bear backsided and bear-headed bear.
I know, it's a mess.
Too many bears in that sentence.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
We're going to head off to some movie houses now. Not movie houses where you go watch movies, but houses from movies. What I haven't found in these two stories that are linked, if it's the same owner. So the first story that pops up currently in this week is that somebody has bought the house from the Goonies. Okay. So, right. So I don't know if they shot in the house, but definitely was the external shots of the house. And it went for sale and it was bought. And it was in a little bit of disrepair, but the guy who bought it is going to say, well, obviously, look, it's a part of movie history. I'm going to renovate it. I'm going to turn it into a bit of a shrine to the Goonies, and I'm going to put it on Airbnb so you can come stay, in the house, right?
Right.
But it linked me to another story of earlier this year. Somebody bought the house from Short Circuit. Now, I don't remember a house. It wasn't a movie set in it. There must have been a house, right, in Short Circuit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Both houses are close to each other in Astoria, Wisconsin, because both of them have a bridge. There's a famous bridge there as the backdrop of the house, right? So the guy who bought the Short Circuit house has done just this thing. He's got a whole bunch of movie memorabilia. He's got little Johnny Fives around. He's got screens and stills and shots of the movie in the house. And you can go stay at the house as an Airbnb. But what I cannot find is this the same guy who bought the Goonies house? Because they're right next, they're in the same area. What's the chances? What are the chances of a Goonies?
It's a possibility, but not a probability, because this is a thing now that people do. So it doesn't have to be the same person.
Yeah.
You know? Do you want to go to either of these houses?
It's weird, though, because I love Short Circuit. I'm not nuts about Goonies. So
yeah,
I love Short Circuit, but the house wasn't iconic, right?
No.
And the house was more a thing in Goonies, but I'm not nuts about Goonies. What 80s? I want to go to sitcom houses. That's what I'd want to do. Okay, we know they weren't houses, they were sets. But I want to go to those. Firstly, I want to go to the Apartments in Three's Company.
Oh, of course.
Right? That's where I want to go.
And you want to burst through the door?
Of course I do. Of course. And stumble down the stairs. Then I want to go to, I've been watching little bits of Golden Girls on Disney Plus. I want to go to that place. Dori, you know what? It definitely has an old lady smell. All respect to old ladies, but you got to smell, right? It definitely has old lady smell.
The smell of talcum powder.
Okay, cool. That's fine. We'll use that. And what's it masking? That's for you to, use your imagination. But watching that place, okay, firstly, the decor, palm tree deluxe wallpaper. But that place is in Florida. It definitely has sea view. That is a beautiful place. Okay, so
yes.
Get on that. Who else? Who's the Boss house? I definitely want to go to that house. Connecticut.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We'll be clean. It will be a clean house.
Yeah.
Tony Danza did all the work there. Where else do we want to go? 80s
Dude,
house.
where do I want to go? Come on, where do I want to go? You should know this.
A movie house.
Yes.
From Dangerous People. Is it Dangerous People? Bette Midler and Danny
Ruthless
DeVito.
People. I know you know it. Ruthless People.
Ruthless People house. Yes.
But it has to have the furniture from Ruthless People.
That's a good 80s movie house.
Any house from Miami Vice. any house.
Especially the drug lords' houses. Those were always extravagant. That's a good house. Magnum, not Magnum, the guy.
Magnum's cool.
Magnum's boss. Oh, Magnum had a cool house. Higgins. Magnum had a cool place. Hawaii.
He did.
Magnum had a cool place. Magnum's house. I'm not so much into like Family Ties or Family Matters or any of those houses. They're just
they were kind of boring.
No.
Same old.
Yeah. So.
Silver Spoons.
Yes, that was opulent. Because I was thinking like a dynasty house. I'd love to go to one of the Dallas ranches. South Fork.
Oh
God.
The penthouse apartment from Dynasty.
Yes. It didn't Alexis stay? Alexis, was it her? Yes.
I think it was Alexis.
That's the one we want to go to. So that's...
and the red, white, and black apartment from, was it Loving or whatever the soap opera was that had the red, white, and black that I loved so much.
Oh, my God. Just name any 80s room ever. I saw something the other day. I need to get hold of him, actually, because he posted on his Facebook story, Kaya Records, which is a record store down in Durban. He has got, and I'll buy my stuff from him, right? He put on his Facebook story the soundtrack on vinyl. Mnet released the Loving soundtrack that you could buy.
But that cool Hall & Oates song is going to be on there because it was in that pivotal scene that I've described.
Yes. So it
might be a really cool soundtrack.
I think, listen, just for kitsch factor, because obviously it had the Loving theme song on it, which is like one of the most difficult things to find online. There was Elton John I saw was on there. I did see Hall & Oates. I did see Pat Benatar on it. So it doesn't make sense.
Wow.
But you're now talking
cool.
If this was stuff used in the show, like Loving had a hell of a budget to pay like rights for those artists.
Yeah.
So that is unexpected Loving chat. Get out the room, kids.
Pretty
it's Loving.
Cool.
It's Loving time. Okay, let's wrap up today's show with, of course, we're not going to sit here on the 9th of December and not have Last Christmas related news, right? And in a week's time, the clamor to get Last Christmas to Christmas #1 starts. No shit. Have we spoken about the Last Christmas re-released by the Backstreet Boys?
I don't know if we've spoken about it on the show. We've spoken about it.
We haven't.
I don't know if we've spoken about it on the show.
Okay. People, now listen, you got to understand, Dori and I have got a lot of Google alerts, right? So Last Christmas being one of them, I get Last Christmas #1. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, it does happen. Adult contemporary. Hey, that's okay. That's cool. That's fine. Not by Wham. The Backstreet Boys have done a cover version of Last Christmas. It's gone to #1 on Adult Contemporary. It's their first #1 since the 90s. And it's a favorite to reach #1 in the States. Now, we only care about the UK charts when it comes to Last Christmas. But it's a favorite.
Yeah.
It's not good. I mean, like, don't touch Last Christmas.
I didn't expect it to be good.
Don't touch Last Christmas.
Just say.
It is really bad. It's not great. So anyway, if you are playing the game Whamageddon, I hope you failed miserably. Dori sends me something great, and Dori, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about this story.
I will.
Poetry Corner. This is Poetry Corner on That 80 Show with Dori.
From Animaniacs, Dori's Poetry Corner. Animaniacs fans will understand. So I have a friend, Erica, who lives in the UK, and we're both very big fans of this guy named Brian Bilston, who has these amazing poetry books, but they're really funny. It's not like traditional, boring poetry, although I do love most poetry. And he's just very witty. So this week she sends me something that she found in one of his books that she managed to buy. And basically, I think it's like a book of days where it gives you a fact from each day of the year. And so it says 3rd of December and talks about the heart transplant that Dr. Christian Barnard performed in South Africa in 1967 on the 3rd of December. Kind of gives the basic story about that. I mean, most people know that story. I'm not going to rehash it. But then he says, In another twist of fate, Wham released their enduring festive classic, Last Christmas, on this day in 1984. So, basically, Last Christmas came out on the same day as the heart transplant was happening. So Brian, in his brain, puts this together and says, Last Christmas with organ accompaniment.
Right.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, I gave someone else my pancreas and small intestine. This year, I'll donate my cornea. I'll give it to someone special, and in brackets, special. It's amazing.
Well played.
Thank you, Erica, who is a listener of our show and a fan and a friend. Thank you, Erica, for always thinking of me when you see anything Wham related.
Do you know? I love that. I love that about our friends and is that people go, saw this, thought of you. It's like, I love the fact that people see George Michael and the first thing they think of is me. Like, I love that.
Mission accomplished.
It makes me so happy that I make you think, George Michael makes you think of me, and vice versa. I love it. I'm very happy about that. So this has been that 80s show. We do have some Christmas plans for some shows, but Dori and I are not very organized people. You must know. No, we are, Dori. We are organized, but in our ways. Like in our ways. We get shit done, but in our ways. So we're trying to work out a schedule, what we're doing for Christmas shows, because obviously I think the live shows on Cliff Central take a break from next week, don't they? I assume.
Week after.
Okay.
Week after the 23rd.
Okay, because next Friday is a holiday in South Africa, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But we will still have a show.
We will be doing a show.
We'll have a fresh show.
We will be doing a show.
Yes.
And as is tradition, as we've been doing for years and years and years, we will have extra long, at least a Christmas and extra long one New Year's show. So we will be doing something that, if you want to just
with lots of music.
Lots of music. So
which we don't have lately. So yes.
No. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, if you listen on the podcast, you don't get the music, but you can listen on Cliff Central. Follow us, that 80 Show SA, on Facebook for the details. And just before I finish off, I want to finish on a meme. Now, Dori and I have been doing this show for a long time, right? This in various formats. And I found a meme the other day of Marty McFly and Doc Brown that said, what if we go back to 2012 and start a podcast? And that's exactly when we started our podcast, Dori, 2012.
10 years ago.
Right. We've been doing this podcast as long as the 80s. That's crazy.
And so it shall continue, because we are never running out of content or songs or any of it.
Every time a Kevin Bacon appears in a movie, we will get our little 80s wings and put it in the show. This is that 80s show.
Wait. Before you go, can we talk about the fact that Tom Cruise is in South Africa?
Right.
And that I was at the same place that he was at and did not see him. He might have been there a little bit after me.
Johannesburg Country Club, right?
Killarney Country Club. The Killarney Country Club. He was at the Killarney Country Club on Tuesday. And what happened was, it was my kids' prize giving at school. And they did very well. So we wanted to go out for a little bit of celebratory brunch afterwards. And we decided, I don't know if you know this, but the Killarney Country Club has a fantastic restaurant called La Vie en Rose. And so we're like, let's go to La Vie en Rose, because this is a special occasion.
That's a fancy special place.
And we went there. Very fancy special place. And we went there and we had a lovely brunch. And then we came home, and now it appears that Tom Cruise was there that day. It's like, what? Although I'm thinking, would I have recognized him? Or would I have just thought, that dude looks a bit like an old Tom Cruise?
No, you would have gone, that guy looks exactly like, that's weird. Because it's like, he's not here, there's no helicopter, because you know what he does. And I was like, how funny, because that's exactly what you do.
There are posters, there are photos on Instagram, and he doesn't look, he looks like a random dude in the photos. Yeah. In fact, at first I was like, really? Was this really Tom Cruise? Was this not just a guy like taking the mickey out of all these poor girls who wanted to have photos with him? Like,
I know.
Is this really him?
Because Killarney Country Club, a dude with a hairpiece and lots of Botox, it's kind of prerequisite for entry.
I literally saw 5 of them on the way to the restaurant. So who knows?
They go for the Tom Cruise package.
I honestly don't know how I would have reacted. I think I would have probably been very excited and wanted a photo. But He's a Scientologist. So
you got look,
you know.
Yeah, but he's also Maverick. I mean,
he's also Tom Cruise. He's also Tom Cruise.
Also
I know.
Friggin' Tom Cruise. You know, I mean, maybe we could like rub his 80s-ness on us. Ew. Sounded better in my head.
On that note, I'm done. I am done.
Oh, sorry that I ended you off there, Dori. Is there anything worth remembering and taking away from the show?
I think what I learned from this show is stuff I learned without your help, which was about Gloria Steinem's stint at the Bunny Club, which I learned for this show. Okay. But yes, I did learn about the Fatal Attraction reboot, which I did not know. Lots and lots of bunny stuff from the show. Lots of bunny things.
A lot of bunny stuff. A lot of bunny stuff. Get down that rabbit hole, that 80 show. SA on Facebook. Thanks for joining me, Dori. Goodbye.
Bye.